Hello, I'm Graham Horton and welcome to this video. Now, my current recommendation for Panasonic Lumix bridge cameras and even some of the mirrorless cameras that don't have the pop-up flash facility has been the Godox IT32 and you see that here on the FZ1000 Mark II. But it's an ideal flash gun for things like the FZ200 or the FZ300. Fantastic flash gun. You've got the facility of bounce and swivel, you've got diffusers, you've got catch light cards, automatic zoom. It really is a superb on-camera flash unit, but it is a little bit large when you're considering smaller compact cameras, or even with the FZ200 it's quite a large flash. Godox brought out this model, the IT30, and again I looked at this and thought it was a great idea for the smaller bridge cameras or even some of the mirrorless cameras. It needed this riser attachment because the height from the flash tube to the top of the camera was small, and sometimes you got shading from the lens that if you didn't remove that. So the riser does allow you to raise this away from the camera body and also give you the facility of doing a swivel. There's no rotation effect on these risers. So that again is a great little flash unit. But new to the field is the new IT32 plus the associated trigger, and the trigger for this one is the X5o version. So that's what I'm going to be reviewing in this video. Show you what the IT32 is capable of with the X5o transmitter. You can of course use the IT32 iFlash body with other systems. So here I've got the Sony system. All I have to do is remove the O trigger from here, put this onto the Sony body, and now I've got a compatible flash system for the Sony. And again, I've got a Canon system. I just need to switch this over to the Canon system, and that gives me the functionality of flash on the Canon system. So if you have got multiple camera systems, this is a great way of adding a flash system to your camera bag. But we're going to be looking mainly at the operation of the X5 with the IT32. As a way of comparison, I'm going to be using the TT350O as the benchmark, if you like. I'll take some pictures of this doll that I've got set up here with the TT350O. I'm going to use the bounce facility, and I'm going to use the diffuser to add a little bit of softening as well. So let me just take that first shot of the doll. Right, that's a little bit overexposed, so I'm just going to reduce the power. At the moment I've got exposure compensation of plus 2.3, so I'll reduce that to plus 1. Let's just have a look at the shot from there. That's probably just a little bit underexposed, so we'll go to plus 1.7. So let's have a look at the shot from there. Again, just a little bit overexposed, so we're going to go to plus 1.3. And that looks better. So the exposure compensation is corrected for the fact that we're using the bounce and the studio conditions here. So that is the TT350O. I'll remove that flash unit and we'll install the IT30. We'll install that onto the camera. Just slips into the hot shoe, locked in place, and again we'll use the bounce facility. They do supply a diffuser, but that's over in the box, so we'll not use that for this particular shot. Again, I'm in the TTL mode. Let me just select TTL, and let's see what the exposure is like without any exposure compensation. So the shot we will take is that one, and again it is underexposed, so I'm going to change the exposure compensation. So I'll change the exposure compensation now to give me the same as we had with the TT350O. I'll go to something like plus 1.3. Let's just bounce that back up again. The ceiling's a little bit obstructed with studio lights, but let's just try that. So that exposure looks pretty good for the IT30O version. Now I'm going to switch over to the new IT32. We just remove this from the hot shoe, press the button on the back and release it. So I'll install the old trigger onto the device, and you can see we've got the magnetic attachments here in the base of the IT32. The flash unit just pops in there, and then we can slide this onto the hot shoe of the camera, screw down the collar to lock that in place. You can see here on the back of the camera, I'm going to change this over to TTL. So by using the scroll down facilities, we're in manual mode, high speed sync. I'll turn that off. Manual, we're going to go into TTL, back to the screen, no exposure compensation. I'm going to dial in again about plus 1.3, and again we'll take that shot of the doll with the FZ1000 Mark II. Again, I'll use the pop-up flash, and that's pretty good with the 1.3. Beauty of the IT32 is you've got the bounce facility, and you've also got swivel 90 degrees to the left and 270 to the right, so you can actually bounce this off a wall if you wanted to do some side bounce photography. So that is the IT32. Let's just take another shot there. The beauty of it is you can actually remove this from your camera, and the trigger will still trigger this flash unit, and I can put this on a light stand, which I'll do now. I'll just point this down towards the doll, and again now I can use this free hand, and we can just carry on taking our pictures, as you can see there, without any problem. So you can control the flash power from the back of the unit. The only disadvantage is that you can't see the back of the display if it's on a remote light stand. If it's on the camera, you can obviously see the adjustment on the back. So if I put that here, you can see that I can control the flash exposure compensation by using the touch screen, or by using the set. I can use the side button to change this flash exposure compensation. But if this is on a light stand, let's just move that away and pretend that's on a light stand. I can change the value using the plus and minus buttons on the trigger. As you can see there, the values are changing, but if it's on a light stand, you find that difficult to read. What you can do is, if I set this back to 0, is use the facilities within your camera. So here on the FZ1002, if I go into the flash menu and I select flash, and I can go into flash exposure adjust, and I can put in here my 1 1/3 EV exposure compensation. It doesn't show up on the screen, but the flash exposure compensation works. So let me put that back onto the light stand. We'll take that picture again, and you can see we've got the correct exposure. So the flash exposure compensation does work from the back of the camera, but it doesn't show up on the back of the screen. Neither does it do with the GT350O. So you can see there, flash exposure compensation from the menu in the camera works fine. You can't change things like first and second curtain synchronization from the camera. You could change that if you like on the back of the unit. The Canon user interface, it gives you the most control over the X5 triggers, but the Sony, the Fuji and the Olympus only give you basic control of the external flash from the in-camera menu. You haven't got full control like you have with the Canon system. You can use manual mode, so you can actually set this to manual operation again by just pressing the back button on the trigger. That will change the LED on the top of the unit. You can see here at the moment that it's green. Let me just refocus. You can see here that the LED is green. If I press the mode button on the trigger, you see that has now changed to orange, and the flash has now changed over to the manual mode. And again, I can use the buttons on the back of the controller to change the flash power, as you can see that changing on the unit. By default, these come with the channel set to 21, but you can change it by applying the trigger to the base of the IT32, and we can change the trigger channel. Let me just refocus this through the menu, and if we go into the menu and we look at the radio dial symbol here, if we just touch that, by default it's channel 21, but you can change this to any one. I changed mine to channel 1 so I can use that with external flash units. So once you've got your external flash unit set to channel 1, you can use this on camera as a trigger, or you can use the X5 as a trigger with group A and channel 1. So if you want to use the X5 trigger on its own, then you can use channel 1 and group A to fire external flash units. I'll set up another flash unit now just to show you that does work. With the X5 trigger mounted on the camera, you have limited control with your external flash units. If you use the IT32 with the X5, you've got control over both TTL and manual settings. If you use an external unit, I've got this Godox 8600B series flash gun here. It doesn't support TTL, just manual mode and multi-mode, so it's a much higher power flash unit, but it's ideal for studio work. I can trigger it, but I can't control its settings, so it basically this becomes a trigger for this flash unit. So I've got this set to 1/256 of a power, which is the lowest version. Again, you can see this is a tube strobe, and I'm going to take a picture with this, with the trigger coming from the camera to trigger the 600. So let's just take a picture of the doll with this large flash unit. And you can see that is with the 1/256 of a power, but as I say, you can't control the settings from the X5 trigger. If I wanted to do that, I can mount the IT32 on here, set this to be the master. So let's just do that, and we'll go to the radio signal. We'll make sure we're in channel 1, which we are. We're going to go to the symbol here, which is not on camera flash, but we want to make that into a master. So the, if you like, the radio signal is pointing out. So now we're in the master mode. If we go back now, we can see the channels available. So M is going to be the on camera flash, so I'm going to turn that off. I press and hold that. I'm going to turn that off. So group A will now be controlled by the flash unit, and I'm going to put that into manual mode. So let's put this into manual mode, 1/8. I can't go less than 1/64 of a power. Oh yes, you can. I do apologise. I can't go less than 128. It won't let me go down to 1/256. So maybe something in the firmware could be changed to allow us to use lower power settings with these higher power guns. So 1/28 is the lowest I can go, but it does mean that I can now fire this gun and have control over it. So let's have a look at the exposure. It should be one stop overexposed, and you can see that's much brighter. So what I'm going to do is point this at the ceiling, and now it will be underexposed because we are using this as a bounce flash and it's not in TTL mode, so that should be an underexposed shot, and you can see that it is. So what I'm going to do on the back of the flash is to increase the exposure to a 64th, and if we look on the gun, sorry for all this moving around, but you can see that the gun has now reflected the fact that we're in 1/64th power. So we'll do the same exposure. I'll shoot this from the ceiling. Oh my gosh, we're getting a much better exposure. So with the So with the IT32 mounted on camera and sat as a master unit, you can control your external slaves either in TTL or in manual mode if your external flash gun supports those modes. With the IT32 mounted on your camera, you can use this as a group commander, so you can control groups A, B and C with the Olympus Panasonic versions. You can use it for A, B, C, D for Canon versions, so it gives you the option, as well as turning on or turning off the main camera flash here. You can use that for a fill light. If you use the M as on, you can control the power for your fill light and use another flash unit as your main light and control the power from the back using the group commands on the IT32. So in a nutshell, the IT32 is a superb replacement flash for the TT350O. The only disadvantage you've got with these smaller flashes is that the zoom is fixed around about 28mm, where the TT350O has got automatic zoom facility, so as you change the zoom length of your bridge camera, the zoom in here will change to accommodate that need. With the IT32 being fixed focus, you're not going to get that advantage. The only way you can change that is by using a wider angle diffuser to give you something like 24mm, but you haven't got the telephoto attachment to bring it down. Maybe that's something that Godox can look at, to give you the clip-on magnetic filter with a telephoto Fresnel lens on there. Something they might want to look at, and something I might investigate myself for a later video. So that is the IT32 with the X5o trigger. Hope you found that useful. If you're a new viewer and you like the way that I do these reviews, why not hit that subscribe button? Also check out my photographic blog. I'll put a link to that in the video description below. You'll find lots more information on Panasonic Lumix bridge cameras and some of the Canon EOS M range of cameras, which I think are a fantastic range. Unfortunately discontinued by Canon now, but these particular cameras give you beautiful images. This is the M6 Mark II. Fantastic camera, and I wish we had more of a range like that. So until the next video, thanks very much for watching. Please do take care, and I hope to see you all very, very soon. Goodbye for now.